Hi, this is Jeff Mitchell with the Golf Standard. Today we're talking about hitting shots out of rough. Some of it not so bad, some of it pretty deep. As we start talking about hitting out of the rough, the first thing you have to consider is the lie. Just how severe is it? And here you can see this lie is pretty good. This lie in the middle is not so bad, but it's sitting down a little bit. And then this lie right over here, the ball is pretty well buried. It's going to be difficult to make good ball contact. It's going to be difficult to control the trajectory. It's going to be difficult to really put any spin on the golf ball. And ultimately, that's going to change how much control you have over this ball going towards the green. You know, regardless of the distance that you have going from your golf ball to your anticipated target, whether that is the middle of the green or, depending on the lie, maybe you're trying to land it on the front of the green. The first thing you always have to look at is the severity of the lie. The more the ball is down in the ground, the more loft you're going to need to get the golf ball out of that grass. I have a 4-iron, 7-iron, and a pitching wedge out. Now, with a really good lie right here, I can hit a pitching wedge, a 7-iron, or a 4-iron, and there's going to be very, very little effect that this lie is going to have on those shots. If I get a little bit of grass between the golf ball and the club, it might have an influence on the spin, maybe a little bit on the trajectory. But that one I would play pretty much as the same thing as I would do if I were in the fairway. As I get into this medium lie right here, it's important to understand that if you have a long shot into the green, the club is going to be bottoming out pretty close to where the golf ball is. And what that means is that you're going to end up hitting a lot of grass behind the golf ball before you get to it. And then the ball is going to hit a lot of grass coming out if you're using a club that does not have very much loft on it. So a shot like this one, regardless of the distance I have to the green, I'm going to use a club that has enough loft where I can play the ball a little bit back in my stance and still get the golf ball up at a reasonable angle so that not only am I missing the majority of that grass and I can make fairly good solid ball contact, but when the ball leaves the club, it's going to come at an angle that's not going to hit a lot of grass coming out. As you get into a really severe lie like this one right here, you really have to ask yourself the question, is it worth the gamble to try to get this golf ball to the green, or should I just play this to a yardage I'm really good at and try to get the golf ball up and down? And regardless of which one you do with that, you want to try and make sure that if the ball is in a pretty severe lie, that your angle of attack is pretty steep so that you're not hitting grass behind it, and that the loft of the club on there is high so that the ball is not hitting grass coming out. You're always going to have to value the lie against what you're actually trying to get. So if you have a severe lie, number one, make sure you change the ball position. Number two, make sure you change the actual club so that the loft of the club is going to help you. And then the last thing I want to make sure to mention when I'm talking about hitting golf balls out of a lot of rough is you've really got to pay close attention to your effort level. When you get a really bad lie, the ball is in deep, the common tendency is to try to really force it out of there. And that's really not going to get you very far. So if you've got a bad lie, even if you're hitting a wedge, make sure that you're making a really well-controlled swing. Make sure that your setup position and your club selection are going to allow you to get the best possible result and make a very controlled golf swing. So as you go through this process, try to make sure that the first thing you look at is your lie. And if you've got a really severe lie, one other thing you might look at, the club is going to catch a lot of grass before it catches the golf ball, regardless when you have a really bad lie. And what happens when you hit the ground is the club face will close. So make sure that if you really do have a bad lie, try to make sure that you place the ball back where your angle of attack is good. Not you're going to hit less grass. Make sure you have enough loft on the club so you're not hitting grass coming out. Make sure your effort level is really good, the same as you would have on a very normal shot. And the last thing is you might open the club face just a little bit so that when that club hits the ground, it's going to square and you're going to have provided for that. So when you have a bad lie, make sure you allow yourself to set up with the ball back, open that club face a little bit. Club selection is going to help me get out of this, and I'm going to try and make a really normal swing. That's a good result, and I can count on that. Make sure you go through these steps. Have fun trying to figure out how to hit it out of the rough. Get your best possible result. Until next time.